You can pop back and forth for that.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you all for joining us. We are super thankful, grateful that you're here with us today. We don't take it lightly that you've given up an hour of your time today on this sunny day today. It's pretty nice. So again, we're just super thankful that you're here. We want to start by telling you a little bit about ourselves. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Stacy Clark. And my background is in education is math education. I'm certified to teach 7th through 12th math, and I used to work for the Warren County School District. I taught for 6 years before leaving to start my own family. I do have 4 children, and we've sought a variety of different options throughout our parenting journey. And each one, we really just felt like they all kind of left us wanting something more.
And I'm Cassandra Galbier. I went to Penn State for elementary education degree. I taught second and third grade in North Carolina on a small little island in the Outer Banks called Ocracoke. And then I came back to Pennsylvania and taught at Sugar Grove Elementary School. And then I left the public school classroom. It was hard for me. That was the time back in the 2010 era where they were really starting to push for standardized test and teaching to the test. And then I became a mom and I knew that I wanted to homeschool. And as my son started to get older, he's 9 now, we did start to join some homeschool co ops in Maui, where we were living at the time. And once we were in Pennsylvania this past year, we started attending some of the monthly homeschool meetups that Stacy had started at Praise Fellowship. And a few months into that, God just put it in my heart to reach out to Stacy. And he said, just reach out to her about a 3 day a week homeschool co op. And I was not obedient right out the gate. But then I did reach out to her in December and we spoke in January, and I had no idea what had already been happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, so unbeknownst to Cassandra, things started way back, probably almost as soon as I left the classroom, but really accelerated back in 2018 when I was actually meeting with a group of women to start something bigger for our community. So we were meeting regularly for almost a year, but the reality was that life just kind of got in the way. At the time, I had 4 kids, ages 5 and under. So we were the oldest. We were homeschooling for kindergarten, and it was just all too much at the time. My heart desired something more, but I just didn't have the time at that time to give my all to something else. And so I kind of put it on the back burner, but God continued to bring it up again and again. I just it was very clear that that dream was there for a reason and that God was going to bring it to fruition at the time, right time. And so that actually brings us to today. So, what we've been creating, and uh, I can tell you a little bit more. So, when Cassandra reached out back in December and we officially met in January, she didn't know, but I had actually been in another program for a whole year of an incubator program of trying to start something more. And so I already had a website base and all of these things when she came, and I was like, yes, I need help, I need support. And so what has been birthed is what we've called Avant Christian Learning Center. And so the word avant means original, innovative, ahead of its time. And that truly speaks to the community that we are building with our K-8 program here at Avant Christian Learning Center. If you're looking for something different, something rather than the rushed mornings, the cookie cutter educational setting, if you want a connected learning experience where your child is deeply known, spiritually grounded, creatively alive, and prepared for a challenging world, that's not irrational. It's wisdom, and you are not alone.
So put a yes in the chat if you've felt any of these tensions in your home in the past month. Perhaps you've had children that were frustrated with schoolwork. Maybe you've been feeling disconnected from one another as a family. witnessing anxiety or even overstimulation in your children. Maybe there's been a sense that there has to be another way. Or perhaps you're witnessing technology take over wisdom. Avant was created for families courageously seeking something different.
Our mission at Avant Christian Learning Center is to partner with families to cultivate a Christ-centered learner, or to cultivate Christ-centered learners through an education that engages the mind, forms the heart, and equips the hands, preparing learners to serve others and impact God's kingdom.
Can you imagine your child waking up excited to learn and surrounded by mentors who know their unique strengths? What would it feel like to witness your child forming not only their mind, but also their character, their faith, their confidence, and their purpose? This is the future that we're building alongside of you parents. We believe education should prepare children not only to make a living, but to live with wisdom, courage, and purpose. This is a community where families are known, supported, and growing together. Our commitment to faith-based education has 4 core values: integrating faith and education, cultivating curiosity, nurturing growth, and promoting community. We believe education should prepare children not only to make a living, but to live with wisdom, courage, and purpose, because your child is more than just test scores. We educate the whole child, the mind, the heart, and the hands, with the mind being academic thinking, critical reasoning, creativity, and lifelong curiosity. The heart, spiritual formation, character development, empathy, and a servant-hearted disposition. Skill development, problem solving, stewardship, and active participation in their community and kingdom work can be done with their hands. So then we look at the world of AI, and this is rapidly changing just in the past 6 to 12 months. As technology transforms education and work environments, maybe you've found yourself asking deeper questions, like, will my child still know how to think independently, create, and lead? Will they be able to discern the truth and build meaningful relationships? AI is transforming the world as we know it, and unique human strengths like curiosity and leadership, ethical reasoning, and adaptive thinking are going to be indispensable. Many scholars emphasize that while AI can automate tasks and is doing great at that, humans will be needed to guide, interpret, collaborate, and innovate at higher levels than ever before. And these are the exact competencies that Avant is helping cultivate in our children. Share in the chat if you would love for your child to be able to think critically, maybe communicate clearly, collaborate effectively, solve problems creatively, and be a leader with wisdom and integrity. Or perhaps you desire skills in financial literacy, entrepreneurship, adaptability, and strong interpersonal skills. These are all going to be very valuable in an AI-driven world. So we didn't want to copy traditional schooling. Stacy and I both have worked in public schools, and we also have been homeschool mothers and explored a variety of learning philosophies. So we carefully studied some of the most respected educational philosophies in the world, and we prayerfully built an approach that honors these pillars of education. And we'd love to hear from you in the chat if any of these resonate with your family's desires, maybe curiosity, faith, mastery, creativity. We have some reference pages that we're going to share with you specifically on the 4 educational philosophies that we're going to be focusing on in the fall of 2026. So you'll get a link to this entire presentation. If any of you are note takers and over there taking notes, you're going to have a link to this entire presentation that will be emailed to you later today. And you'll be able to refer to some of the more detailed reference pages at the end as well. Oh, you're muted.
So, one of the biggest questions, with good reason, is where are we going to be? And so that we have that answer, and it is Youngsville Free Methodist Church. We are so excited to announce this partnership. Their space truly has everything we're looking for. There's lots of room indoors for classroom spaces, outdoor classrooms. There's a large green space. There's trails all back there. There's a new playground, and there's so much more. They really have a lot that encompasses the vision for what we're looking to create at Avant. The next big question, and we're going to dive deep into this. So this is just kind of the first introductory piece of this, is the logistics and the scheduling options available. So we've created two programs. The first is the Foundations program, and that's going to take place Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 9:30 until 3 p.m. There's options for 24 or 35-week commitments, and we'll explain that in further detail here in a moment. The Creative Collection is 2 days. That's Monday and Friday from 10 to 2. Again, 24-week or 35-week options. And as noted at the top, there will be an extra time for those parents needing extra time or to drop their children off earlier or to pick them up later too. There will be options for that and even more. So this is just like the very small little piece of what we're offering. So, to explain the 24 and the 35-week options, we have broken up the calendar year into what we're calling sessions. And so we will have the fall and the spring sessions are part of the 24-week program with a long winter break. And then the 35-week session would be the fall, winter, and spring sessions. And you can see the total number of days for both the Foundations programs and the Creative Collective. And now we've got a visual for you, I believe. Oh, the full year. Okay, so kind of like the big picture here. So each of the sessions start on the brown color there. So you'll notice that the fall session will start August 31st, and then the last day of each session is in the teal. So the last day of fall will be November 20th. Then you can notice November 30th is when we start our winter, and that goes until February 26th, and so on and so forth. So then we've broken it up a little bit more visually. So for the Foundations, that's the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday program. In that tan color, you'll see color coded is all of the fall. So if you're enrolled in the 24 or the 35, your fall sessions for the Foundations are in that tan. If you elect to join the 35-week, that winter session will start in December, and you'll notice that's in that light blue color. And then in the light purple color is the spring session. So those are the Foundations options. And next I'm going to show you the Creative Collective options.
And just one note here on this one. So the Foundations program, we are going to get into more detail on that, but we will be using a curriculum where if you do not join for the winter session, you would be required to do the language arts and math lessons at home during the winter session so that when you do join us back up on March 2nd, that you're on the same lessons for language arts and math. But we can go into that a little bit more.
Can you guys hear my kids? Are you hearing that background noise or no? Okay. They're like excited and excitedly shouting, and I'm like, oh, shoot. Okay, good. As we said, the Creative Collective are the Monday, Friday meetings, and that makes it a little bit harder to read there, but that's still starting on that 31st. There's an overlap there, ending on November 20th. But in that, again, that tan is showing the fall session, the light blue is showing that winter session, and then the purple again is showing the spring session. Now, you would have the option to be in both programs, the Creative Collective and the Foundations program. And that's listed down here at the bottom. You can see if your child were enrolled in the Foundations and Creative for the 35-week program, it would be 173 days towards that 180 days. And I'll get into that a little bit later in the presentation.
So, our Learning Center fosters a supportive environment where parents, academic guides work actively together to collaborate to nurture the students' spiritual and educational growth alongside their unique God given skills. We believe in mixed age groups throughout the day to allow all ages to thrive. From gaining independence to fostering leadership skills, our Learning Center is a community where children will grow into the excellence that God created them for. We encourage students to explore their own talents and gifts in their early years. So by the time they are in high school, they will own who they are and who God created them to be. So for the Foundations program, that's the 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we will be diving into the core academic subjects, language arts, math, science, history, ensuring a solid foundation and integrating faith, apologetics, Bible study, daily worship and prayer, character development. And for that daily worship and prayer, lunch and recess, parents are invited to join in. For enrichment, life skills and survival skills will be part of that Foundations program. And then arts, science, and cultural studies will be integrated into the Creative Collective on Mondays and Fridays. So here's a look at what a typical weekly class calendar would look like for 2nd through 8th grade. So we are open to kindergarten and first. Kindergarten and first will be a self-contained classroom. For the majority of the day, we will integrate with them during parts of the day, but they will have their own schedule. Those younger kids just need a bit different flow. And we did mention on the last slide about the kids exploring so that they're ready and they know who they are for high school. While we are not open to high school this year, we will follow the 8th graders to 9th grade the following year in 2027. That was a question that came up last night. So looking at this 2, 3, or 5-day option for the Foundations program, that's our 3-day program in the middle there, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. We start at 9:30 in the morning and go until 3 p.m. The morning blocks will be language arts and math blocks. Again, that's the curriculum that if you take the winter off, you will be required to continue through the winter when you rejoin us in the spring. In addition to that, we will not be giving nightly homework. We will not be doing any big testing, but we will require 1 language arts and 1 math lesson every week, which means on Thursday, when the students go home, they will have 1 language arts, 1 math that they can complete over their long weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, so that when everyone returns on Tuesday, we're on the same lesson. We will be using the good and the beautiful for language arts and math for year 1. For our Creative Collective, we're going to let those homeschool families take a break and sleep in a little bit and move slow and start at 10 a.m. doing art projects, collaborative projects, integrating various subjects like science and cultural studies. And they will continue those enrichment projects after a long lunch and recess break. Now you can see the worship and prayer there. This is where we said we will invite the parents in. So at 11:30 on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays, parents are invited to join for worship and prayer and follow that with lunch and recess. This is also something where if you're a family and you love language arts and math at home and you want to join us for half days, you could start at 11:30 and go until 3 o'clock on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We have been so blessed with the amount of adults that we have that have amazing experience in this community. Stacy and I have been just really overjoyed at the adults that we have access to in the community that want to be involved. We have an extensive list of experienced guides. We're saying academic guides. We're not using the word teacher. We're not a traditional school. And based off enrollment, that will determine how many of these guides that we do decide to bring on and hire. Um, in addition to our daily guides, we will be having one off workshops and maybe 3 days in a row of a workshop with talented adults in our community who would love to bring in a variety of life skills and other subjects. We have adults that have experience in public school teaching, homeschooling, Montessori teaching, and Charlotte Mason. And Montessori and Charlotte Mason are two of the four educational philosophies we mentioned at the beginning. So we just feel blessed at these unique talents that are available for all of our children to thrive. We are going to be having a small class ratios, one adult, one academic guide for every 8 to 12 children, depending on the age. The younger kids, K and 1 would have the ratio of 1 to 8, where the middle schoolers would have a ratio of 1 to 12. So we've gone over lots of logistics. We'd love for you to take a look at what a week at Avant really feels and looks like. And we're going to give this a go. We had too many people on the call last night for the video to play the whole way through. If this doesn't work out, you guys can go back and watch this. It's just a quick 3-minute video that we put together for you.
What if learning didn't have to look like this? What if your child was meant for so much more? At our faith-based learning center, we believe children were God created for excellence. We are building a community of learners where faith and education are beautifully connected, where curiosity is nurtured, wonder is protected, and each child is known. Inspired by Charlotte Mason, Reggio Emilia, Montessori, and Waldorf philosophies, we take a whole child approach to learning. Here, children are forced into a box. We embrace their uniqueness and God-given talents. Learning is driven by their interest, allowing them.
Oh, and here it goes.
Sure, and limitations of a traditional classroom. A day here looks different.
Okay, we're just going to
All
pause that.
class sizes where academic guides truly know your child.
I'm going to pause this, and we are going to encourage you to just take a look at it all in one when you get the link to the presentation. And this is something that's great to share with your spouse. Like, if they're asking questions, or grandma or another parent, it's just a quick 3-minute overview of what we're sharing today.
So as reference there, we're really looking to build something different. And part of that, as Cassandra mentioned, when she talked about the weekly and daily schedule, is that we're offering flexible support. One thing that we haven't mentioned yet is that we would offer a half day, or you did mention that, I'm sorry. You did mention a half day option. So we're really seeking to be flexible, the 2-day, 3-day, lots of different choices for families to meet a variety of needs, because we know that you all have different needs. Your family doesn't look the same as the next. And so we're trying to offer something that's flexible and also just really community based. So parents are able to come. We're looking to have a parent workspace where parents that are working remotely can be and then do their work in that space and then join us for worship, join us for lunch, and just really building a collaborative environment within our learning center.
So we have flexible participation. There are 4 different pathways here. You can choose 1, 2, all of them, whatever works best for your family. So we have the foundations program. That's the core that's the core Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday program. And again, 9:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. for the 24-week or 35-week session. And if you prefer to do half days, you can do 35 weeks starting at 11:30 in the morning. With the Creative Collective, that is 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we do have the early drop-off starting at 8 a.m. and the late pickup going until 4 p.m. if you would choose to need that as well. And for those of you that are choosing the Early Bird Late Owl program, the early drop-off, late pickup, if you did want us to do your 1 extra language arts or math session with them during that time, we could potentially work on that if they're there on the Creative Collective Friday, Mondays as well. We could get that done so you wouldn't have that as a take-home weekend assignment. So you, as the parents, also need community. Raising children was never meant to happen in isolation. We've all heard the phrase that it takes a village, and it truly does. And what we're building here is not just a learning center, but a place for real connection and collaboration. We envision parents meal prepping. Maybe some of the mamas come in and use the beautiful kitchen and meal prep on a Monday, so they go home with all their meals for the week side by side. We envision sharing tips, encouragement, book clubs, discussion groups, Bible studies, prayer circles, and opportunities to grow spiritually together. This is community in action, where families, academic guides, and children all support one another. We have shared experiences that strengthen our bonds and our values. And we're actually living out faith, collaboration, and growth together. So, investing in the future that you desire for your children, we recognize, does require sacrifice, intention, and faith. Our goal is to make this vision increasingly accessible to families through fundraising partnerships, donors, and long-term sustainability initiatives. We are intentionally building a high-quality, relationship-centered environment with small group learning, mentorship, enrichment, and faith, all integrated in one. So the question that many have asked us, and bear with us, we have a couple of slides here, and we're going to walk you through one at a time. Just because you're seeing a number now does not mean that that's the number that you're seeing at the end. So first we had to look, we are a nonprofit, so we are a Pennsylvania nonprofit. We do not have our federal 501c3 yet, but we're working on that. And the church that we will be in does have their 501c3, so we can use them as a fiscal sponsor for donations. We'll talk about that in a moment. So looking as a board at what could this possibly cost per child when we have curriculum, supplies, insurance, utilities, staff, admin, operational costs, all of the things that we would need for 9 months. Now, this number depends on enrollment. We know that we have about 130 families on our email list, but we don't actually know who is ready for this for the fall. And we also don't have pre-K yet, which we are working towards. So this is the true cost per child for kindergarten through 8th grade. The Creative Collective comes in around $2,300. The Foundations program, $4,600. And if you were to do both days, it's just shy of $7,000 for the cost. What it would cost us to have your child as part of these programs. This is for the 35-week. Now, we compared that to 3 local private schools. One of them is a $3,000 a year tuition with up to $1,500 in family fees. One is around $5,200 for one child, and the other is $5,800 for one child plus a $450 fee per student as well. We just believe in this vision that God has given us, and neither Stacy nor I, felt comfortable with those numbers. So we took it to the board and we got it approved to charge less. What that means is we believe that God is going to make up the difference. Now, again, we're not done here yet, so bear with us. So for the cost per child with the Creative Collective at 35 weeks, it would be $2,200. The Foundations program at 35 weeks would be $3,300. And if both programs worked for your family Monday through Friday, it would be $5,100. But we do have a paid in full discount rate. That's for families who are financially able to pay in full, believe in this vision, and they would pay $4,700. We do have a 10% sibling discount as well. So what does that look like broken down into monthly payments? You can choose for 9, 10, or 11 months of payments. This is if it was broken up into 11 months. We do have a registration fee. So when you enroll, you would have a $300 registration fee for the foundation program and a $200 registration fee for the creative collective. That comes off the number looked at. So for example, with the foundations program, $3,300 minus 300, that is $3,000. Divided by 11 months brings you to $273 for your monthly payment.
Our church had zero budget for that.
Sorry. I jumped the gun. So with this, this is not the slide. Okay, so with these monthly payments, again, the Creative Collective, the Foundations program, and the 5-day program would all have a paid in full option. I'll hand it over to Stacy.
Okay. Sorry. I wasn't sure that's what you're tossing it to me. So, as we looked at these numbers, and honestly, Cassandra and I really battled what these numbers should be, what they should look like. It was very hard and uncomfortable to kind of even just get to this point. But what we really experienced as we wrestled with these numbers was actually a bigger vision that God gave us. And you've already seen a snippet, but we'll go ahead.
Our church had zero budget for that. We had no money. This was totally an operation of faith. If I was so told you that we were going to go start a tuition-free school in Africa, nobody would have questioned that. But yet here in America, that is the view that we have.
So the big vision is that we are seeking to raise up disciples. One of the things in the podcast that's like a challenging moment in this discussion is that we don't charge to go to youth group. We don't charge kids to go to youth group. We don't charge people to attend church. There's not like a fee you have to pay when you come in. And if that's our big vision, is to create disciples, then we really want to pour in to families and make this even more affordable and offer this as tuition free. So we're going to send, as she said, we're going to send this out to everybody. And I'd really encourage you, and I'll try to share in the chat this podcast link too, so that you can listen to it and kind of hear that call and that challenge for us to consider something very different than what is the reality. And that is to offer this as tuition free.
And Stacy and I did meet with the man that you just heard speaking, Pastor Justin from the Salt and Light Academy, and we had a great 2-hour-long Zoom call with him to see how did you really build a tuition-free program. And so we've just been so inspired by what he has done, and we would love to bring it to this region.
So obviously that's a huge goal. That's a huge vision. In the Gospel of Luke, we read the account of the feeding of the 5,000. In that moment, there was a very real and practical need. Thousands were hungry and the resources seemed insufficient. Yet through faithful obedience and willingness to act, what appeared limited became more than enough. This story reminds us of 2 enduring principles. Meaningful work begins with recognizing a genuine need, and transformation happens when we faithfully step forward to serve. While the task at times, that this budget, this idea of tuition free may seem larger than our resources, we're encouraged by the truth that provision often follows faithful action.
So how do we go from this vision to reality? This is the roadmap for year 1. We calculated that we would need approximately $315,000 to service the students for the first year for a 9-month program, and we've decided to begin a tiered payment program. So for the families that do pay in full, they get a discount out the gate for that. For the families that do choose monthly payments, this is what it would look like. As we find our donors and fundraise together, once we hit $78,000, we would have 25% off your monthly payment from there on out. So say we get $78,000 in October, from there on out, you would have a 25% reduction of those monthly payment plans we just looked at. Once we hit $157,000, it would be 50% reduction. At $236,000, 75% reduction. And when we hit $315,000, our budget for the year, then tuition would be free for any of those remaining months. Now, we can't promise anything, right? We're working on a $0 budget, but we really believe in what God is doing here and the vision that He's given us. And we would love to be collaborating with churches. There are over 300 churches. And as the podcast challenged, what is it like to pour into disciples locally? We would love to partner with local churches and businesses to support raising our faith-filled children here. So out of those 300 churches locally between Warren and Chautauqua County, if we could get a small fraction of them to sponsor tuition for one child, we believe that would be a huge benefit to every family involved. We also will be seeking private donors, both in business and personal donors. We'll be writing grants, and we'll be having fundraisers, both as a large group and individual. Now, these individual fundraisers will be optional. Families can choose to participate or not. And whatever they raise will go off what they owe in that next month. So let's say a family participates and the percentage they get individually is $300, then they would get $300 credited directly to their account for that individual fundraiser. We will be having volunteer hours for every family, and part of what you can do to volunteer would be to join one of these committees. As educators, board members, and financial supporters, we stand in a similar space. There's a clear need before us to nurture, guide, and educate the next generation. God accomplishes extraordinary work through ordinary people like you, Stacy, myself, who are willing to show up, steward what they have well, and serve with excellence. Our role is to be faithful. The growth, the impact, and the multiplication truly are in His hands. We are building not only what our region needs, but what this generation needs. This is what our country needs, and this is what the world needs. We are raising up the disciples of this generation, and Stacy and I are inviting you into this vision. Children who are emotionally, spiritually, and practically fit for the future. So the families who choose Avant are not looking for perfect children. They're choosing intentional formation over passive systems. They're willing to think differently and desiring a slowing down. These are families who cultivate faith and prioritize relationships, preparing children not only academically, but spiritually, emotionally, and practically. Activating the mind, the heart, and the hands through education that shapes not only what children know, but who they become. These families are helping pioneer a different future for education. And again, we're not just building a program, we are building a community.
So you've attended, you're here, you've shown up for this first step, and that's just to hear the vision and the mission of what we're building here with Avant. And if this vision resonates deeply with your family, we invite you to begin the conversation. We're prayerfully building a founding community of families who desire something different for the next generation. Next slide. So there is an application, and we will show you that process with a $25 application fee. Should you be accepted, that will be credited within your account. towards your fees. Then, after we review your application, you may be scheduled for either an in-person or a Zoom interview. And if it's a good fit for everyone, you'll be invited to enroll for our first year. Enrolling with us, um, okay. I was like, am I frozen?
Sorry. Yeah, there's a little bit of delay on my end, but I think we're good.
Okay. So you would sign the family agreement stating that you are in agreement with our mission, our values, and our vision. And then, because, as Cassandra mentioned, we are a PA nonprofit, we are registered with the state as a drop-in learning center. Because of that, all families will be required to register with their local school district as a homeschool student. So that would, whether you are enrolled in the 2, 3, or 5-day program, you would be registering as a homeschool student, your child as a homeschool student. And what that looks like, I know we do have some New York families in here, so I know that this process will look a little different for you. But for our PA families, this is what that would look like. In order to enroll as a homeschool family, you do have to send a letter to the school district listing your objectives for the year, complete medical evaluations. There's different evaluations required for different grades. And then you are required to maintain those records yourself as the supervisor. And we will have templates for you if you've never walked through that process before. It sounds scary and daunting, but it's really not that complicated, especially if we give you the tools of what you need. Part of being a homeschool family within the state of Pennsylvania, you are required to maintain a portfolio and have a year-end evaluation. Students in grades 3, 5, and 8 are required to take a standardized test. We will have a list of tests that you can have your student take. It's not the trauma of the PSSAs that we've all known. It can be a 1-day test. You simply have your student take that test, and then evidence that they've completed the test goes into the portfolio. It doesn't need to get sent to the state or even the school district. It's just included in your year-end evaluation, and your evaluator notes that that test was taken. For the year-end evaluation, we will help you, direct you towards options for evaluations. And you will be required to submit the portfolio that has been compiled throughout the year, along with your proof evidence of your testing in that portfolio as well. Again, we will help you determine what is needed in each portfolio for each grade level. The experiences they have within our program would be able to be used as evidence for the portfolio. Because we are a drop-in learning center, we do not have access to the school district transportation. So you would be required to bring your child to the school. Now, we would help and encourage carpooling to take some of that burden off of families, but at this time, we cannot offer transportation. So we just want to be very upfront with you in what is going to be expected of you. We also will not have a lunch program. We are working towards getting options for the foundations program, and that may be in the very near future. We may be able to launch that in the fall, but we can't promise that yet. So you would be required to send your child with a packed lunch. And of course, as Cassandra mentioned, there would be one additional language arts and math outside of the foundations program. Again, if your child is there for the 5-day, the Creative Collective and the foundations and the early morning bird or the late owls, then they would be able to complete that. And so that would not be on you to complete that at home. But again, if you are completing the 24-week program, there would be the additional days in the winter. You'll notice that at the bottom of this slide, it states that there are 180 instructional days required, which is standard in Pennsylvania. And with that, you can see the different numbers of days that are completed within each program. So some of those will be met within our program, but then of course there would be additional days outside of that to meet that 180 days. Now that can look like family vacations where they're learning and experiencing things. It doesn't have to be sit down at a desk sorts of school days in order to be counted as an instructional day. Kids are learning outside of just sitting pencil paper. They're learning so much more in other opportunities too. So don't be scared by hearing that piece. So, this is the application, and you can take a screenshot of that. You can use your phone and just, as we all know, open your camera, use the camera to just click on that link. If you're on this on your phone and you're looking at it, if you take a screenshot, I'm just going to take a photo of this so I can show you how to physically do that. So, if you've got a screenshot of it, if you click and hold, you'll see a menu does pop up to take you to that. So if you're on your phone and you're taking a screenshot of it, you do still have access. You'll click open, that'll open that up to the application process. You will have to create a profile for yourself. So you'll click do not have an account and then create an account, and then it'll take you to the application from there.
And just one note on that application. So if you have more than one child, you will create a profile for each child. It will ask you if they have siblings, and that's just because they're going to link all your children into your profile. So if you do have more than one, then you would create a profile for each child under your adult account. Can
Yes,
you repeat the application? Yes, Sarah, the application link is going to be in the follow-up email. So we're going to take Q&A, but before we do that, if you want to snapshot this, and again, this link will be in there as well, you can see the presentation before we send you that email if you want to really look back right out the gate. This top QR code will help you view the presentation, and the bottom QR code directly links you to our website. Now I'm going to go ahead and stop this screen share, and we can take some Q&A.
Can we actually, just because of the questions that we received last night,
Oh,
just revisit the true cost and the cost, like the actual cost, true cost and actual? So it just sounds weird because they sound like they're the same thing, right?
yeah.
But just to clarify that, because we did have the question come up last night about the difference between difference between the true cost and then the teal page.
Yep. If I can get past it. Technical difficulties. Okay. I think it's after our
On
video
page
again.
25. It's quite a few after that.
Okay,
So I
so
just want to
yep, go ahead.
clarify that these are the costs that we would incur, but that's not what we're going to charge families, nor would it ever. Somebody asked the question, well, as you raise money, will the price go up to this? That's not the goal at all. The goal is to decrease monthly payments, not ever to make it to get to that point. Like,
Yep. So between that number and this number, there's obviously a big difference. And that's where the first fundraising would go towards, would be to cover that gap. And then
mhm.
any additional gap after that, then we would start crediting accounts with the program fee discounts in that tiered rate. Does anyone have any questions? Come see people's faces. Who's here? No questions? Is there anything confusing that you want to make sure is cleared up?
Yes, you would drop your children off for the day and pick them up at the end of the day. You would not be required to stay. If you wanted to stay and work, you could, but you're not required to stay. Good question.
And you wouldn't be allowed in the classrooms either unless you signed up as a volunteer. So we will have volunteer hours for when we need extra hands on deck, right? But we're not just going to let any parent stay anytime they want and be in the classroom. We're going to have background checks for any volunteers, and birthday cutoff date for kindergarten. What's the month that you're looking at? Because we have another question from last night about that. Oh, thanks, Lauren. Brienne, do you? Okay. Oh, three. Yeah, so for the following year, that would work. But one thing we didn't touch on is pre-K. So with pre-K, if it's under the age of 5, it goes under the daycare Pennsylvania laws, which is a lot of hoops to jump through, a lot of red tape, and it's going to require much more time for Stacy and I to get that rolling. But we do have a vision and a location for a pre-K for 2027, but we just don't know when we can promise that that will be open. So we will just say 2027, and we don't know exactly when in 2027 we'll be offering that.
We were a little eager when we first announced and said pre-K to 8, and then really got into the nitty-gritty and we're like, oh, this is a lot more than what we can
Yeah. So
handle out the gate.
we'll just be transparent. One of the things is if the location is on well water, that it has to be tested multiple times. And there's a preschool here that went through this a year or two ago, and it was over $12,000 just to test the water to be able to have underage 5 kids there. So that's just a look at like some of the things, but there's a lot of other red tape with all the inspections and things. Thanks, Alexis. Oh, that's really sweet. Yes, the discipleship. Thank you so much for saying that. And if you have more questions, go ahead and keep putting them in the chat. We will be sending you an email shortly from the email that you registered with for the Zoom link. And that email will go out and it'll have a link to the application. It'll have a link to this presentation and a link to our website. And we will be doing so there's a $25 fee for the application. And then we will be doing those interviews that Stacy talked about. If you do apply, in the next few days, and the email specifies that for you, and you were to enroll, then we would take that $25 application fee off of your enrollment fees. We will have attendance, yes. So attendance, Alexa, do you want to speak on what you mean for that? We will have the app that we're using, the Brightwheel app for that platform, does track attendance, and they'll be checked in and checked out through that. Is that what you mean? Or are you meaning like if you go on a vacation, are you like not allowed?
Yeah, I just wondered if it was like regular school where you have to meet that 180 days and like if you guys kept that or if that's something we have to keep track of.
So we will have a record to submit to you of the days that they were in attendance with us. But as you can see, none of the programs that we're offering actually do the 180 days. So if your child was sick, then that would have to be a makeup day on your own. We're not like gonna have like makeup days. You're not gonna have to send in an excuse, any of that kind of stuff. If you were to take a vacation, obviously it would be helpful for us to know that your child's not going to be there, but you don't have to fill out a form to be able to get that approved. That's because we're not a traditional school. We're considered a drop-in learning center. So attendance is not mandatory.
Okay.
Is there a deadline for applications? We will have the applications open into August, but we do encourage you, if this is something that you feel like is really a right fit for your family, to apply as soon as possible, because we will be hiring our academic guides. And we are, like, for instance, in the classroom where there's a 1-to-8 ratio. if you're the ninth parent, we can't hire an academic guide just for that one extra student. So we will be cutting things off for enrollment in that way, if that makes sense. But we don't have a tight deadline right now. We just know that we will cut them in August, so that we're prepared for the September launch. Weather, are we following the Warren County delays and cancellations? Stacy.
We haven't like formally discussed it, obviously, with the board. But that is the tentative plan that we would follow the Warren County cancellations because we would be located within Warren County. We obviously would have the discretion. You're okay. No, that is like the intention, but we haven't discussed that at length, obviously, as you know.
Yeah. Yeah, so the board will make those decisions. And one of our board members is asking us that question. That's why we're laughing. What is the goal number of kids you want to enroll this year? So there's some really great cushion spots. Stacy, do you remember what those numbers were? Was it like
I can look at that chart. I
like
think we
while
were.
I would say while she's looking that up, we can tell you that our max is 75 for kindergarten through eighth. We feel like for the first year, that feels like a number that we're comfortable with, but we don't want to open it up beyond that for the first year. For what's the ideal numbers?
Ideal. Well, so we talked a little bit about numbers, well, we talked a lot about numbers, but as far as like the back end, we ran like five different budgets, of low enrollment, high enrollment, um, like heavy on volunteer hours, and then paying options of paying our teachers very well. Um, I say very well comparatively to other public or other private schools, not in comparison to what the public school can offer, because we just can't offer that. Let me look at the bottom here. Kind of like our average was a total of 55, I think was the
That sounds right. So 55 is a good ideal goal, as far as it being like good all around for numbers and student
everybody.
teacher ratio and just like it works good for parents, for kids, for academic guides, all of it.
Our big vision is like beyond the 72, is what the big vision
Mhm.
is. Let me see. I'm trying to find that.
Good questions. Anyone else? Oh, thank you. So one of the things that the video shows that wasn't in here is we really are going to take advantage of the Youngsville outdoor space. They own a lot of property, including an island. The playground, the green space, and we just envision our children really being outside, getting their hands in the dirt, gardening, learning skills, shelter building, all those fun things that kids love, but really create those critical thinking, problem solving, mental mindset for them to grow into as adults. The property is just so incredible. If you've never been there, just go up there, check out the playground, the green space that goes back, and then it goes into the forest too. We didn't realize how much property there was back there until we went and walked it. And Stacy just shared in the chat the link to the podcast where Justin, the pastor, was talking about a tuition-free program.
Yeah, I'll be honest, the first introductory vision of that was actually a Catholic school, and I was like, well, of course they can do that. They can offer that, because they've got the Catholic Church behind them. And then he is not operating a Catholic church. It is a Protestant church. And hearing his vision, I was like, oh, okay. They are currently in year two, prepping and preparing for year three with 150 students, and they live out in rural Kentucky. So it is possible.
Mm-hmm. And we also had a call with a woman who co-founded a similar center outside of Lancaster, I think just north of that area. And they started in 2020 during COVID era and have been growing ever since. And they're adding high school, the full high school, and really share a very similar vision to what we're doing here. So it's just been really great to talk to people who are a few steps ahead of us. And yeah, God can provide. We just are believing in it, and we know that yeah, we know that there's opportunities. If anyone wants to be on the fundraising and grant and
We'll
donor
take all the
committees,
help we can get, all the
we,
help, all the
yeah,
prayers.
we need prayers, we need hands, we need other minds.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if there are no other questions, yes, yes. Um, if there are no other questions, I think we'll just close it out. We'll respect your time. We thank you that you've joined us for the last hour. And as Cassandra said, we will send you a link with all of those things. The link to the presentation, the link to the application. And was there something else that there was going to be a link for?
Just the website.
The website. Okay.
And
Website.
yes, we would sorry, someone just said, can we pray?
Sure. Yeah. Do you want to lead us, Cassandra?
Oh, me. Oh, I thought someone wanted to pray for
Oh,
the mission.
someone else want to pray? Oh, yeah. If you
Alexis,
want to pray
do you
for us,
want
we love that.
to pray?
Well, I figure you ladies are spearheading it, so I'll let you pray, but I am in absolute agreement.
Thank you so much. Yes, and yeah, we pray before the meetings, and we probably should have started this one with the prayer. We started it before we let you into the waiting or from well, you were in the waiting room. But thank you for encouraging us to do that. So God, we just are so thankful, so grateful that we are able to connect all of the parents here and just really see your vision for this region and for our children and how you want to bring them up as your disciples. Lord, we give thanks for everyone's time today, for technology mostly working for us to be able to cast your vision for these amazing women that joined us and the men. That may be listening into the recording. And Lord, we just ask that you continue to guide this, that this is your stepping stone after your stepping stone, that we are walking your path, that you guide our eyes to see your vision, our hearts to know how to lead this, and the courage to step forward. We just pray that you bring us all of the ways that this can work, the donors, the proper fundraising, the best curriculum, and the most caring, nurturing, spiritually minded academic guides to mentor our children. That you just place your hands over everyone who feels called to be a part of this mission, that you just make a way. If there's anyone on this call that just doesn't feel like they can commit because of the numbers, that you just give them all your peace, your deep shalom, that they will be able to be a part of this as well, that no one is left behind when it comes to your mission. And we just pray for your hedge of protection around all these families. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Thank you all so much. We're going to close this out. And oh, we can send this recording as well. We could link this recording in the email, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll add that to the email, the full recording of it. All right. Thank you all. Take care. God bless.